Hello, Morongo Basin, and listeners around the world online at Z107.7 FM.com. Here is the Z107.7 Local news for Thursday, December 18th, 2025. The Sheriff's Department is seeking the public's help in identifying a car suspected in a hit and run that resulted in the death of a woman on a mobility scooter. On November 6th, deputies from the Morongo Basin Station responded to a reported traffic collision involving a vehicle and a pedestrian in a motorized mobility scooter near the intersection of Primrose Drive and Airway Avenue in Yucca Valley. The victim was identified as Kim Hicks, 55 years old. Immediately following the collision, the motorist failed to stop, render aid, or call for emergency services. The vehicle fled the scene, traveling westbound on Yucca Trail from Airway Avenue. Deputies arrived on scene and rendered life-saving measures to the victim until medical personnel arrived. The victim was transported to a local hospital for treatment, but she succumbed to her injuries as a result of the collision. Following the incident, deputies from the Major Accident Investigation Team began an investigation into the hit and run. Surveillance video captured the suspect vehicle fleeing the scene promptly after the collision. The vehicle is described as a beige, tan, or gold-colored Toyota Corolla. Photographs of the suspect vehicle and a video can be seen at this story at Z107.7FM.com. Anyone with information regarding this investigation is urged to contact Deputy Kiroz Falcon at 760-366-4175. Callers wishing to remain anonymous can call the WeTip hotline at 1-800-78-CRIME. Last night, the Morongo Valley Community Services District Board of Directors met in Covington Park's multipurpose room. Reporter Gabriel Hart joins us with this recap.
During agency reports, General Manager Brittany Chavez reminded the board that the Morongo Valley Christmas Parade will be taking place this Saturday, December 20th, staging at 3 p.m. with parade to follow at dusk through downtown Morongo Valley at Hess Street. The board welcomed new Morongo Valley Fire Chief Michael Caltabiano, who gave a brief introduction while many attendees voiced unawareness of the changeover. Stay tuned for a more in-depth story on Fire Chief Caltabiano's entry into the Morongo Valley Fire Department. For new business, the board's plan to discuss, review, and approve district policies, their mission statement, and related resolutions was tabled until next month's meeting on account of Directors Steve Hayden and Eva Rao's absence. The board then discussed exploring an outside HR agency for one-off projects. After reaching out to 3 different agencies quoted at an average of $120 to $160 an hour, General Manager Chavez and President Christina Gorky suggested filling out a survey offered by one company to narrow down the CSD's unique needs. After Chavez and Gorky reminded the attendees that these one-off projects would be a more affordable rate than their attorneys, the board agreed to fill out the survey to get a better idea to revisit next meeting. Finally, the board discussed defining the retainer rate for the current legal counsel of Brunick, McKelney, and Kennedy. Chavez stated the legal counsel has said their contract can, quote, be amended at any time, unquote, and the board agreed to request updated language in the contract by next meeting. Reporting for Z107.7 News, I'm Gabriel Hart.
The 29 Palms Water District Board of Directors held their final meeting for 2025 last night. Annalise Kuiper brings us details.
The first order of business was the election of officers to the 29 Palms Water District Board of Directors. The status quo will remain, as Director Bob Coghill will continue to serve as president, Randy Leeser will be vice president, and the directors will remain Michael Arthur, Amy Woods, and Larry Bowden. This was unanimously approved. The expanded 2025 rate study by Water Resources Economics was received by the board. Water District staff was directed to proceed with scheduling a public hearing in compliance with Proposition 218. The exact date for this will be determined by the required 45-day period for written objections to the rate hike to be received, in accordance with Proposition 218. The public hearing will be tentatively set for the end of February 2026. Superintendent Minitry reported that 3 hydrants were hit in 1 week. Reimbursement will be sought from the insurance companies for wasted water and for damages to the hydrants. Called into question was the necessity of continuing to have a legislative committee, which had not held a meeting in several years. Next meeting, disbandment of the committee will be discussed. discussed. Russell Frechette was commended for 16 years of public service and for being an all-around excellent employee. He was awarded by the general manager Matthew Schrag, and cake was served after the meeting. Reporting for Z107.7 News, I'm Annalise Kuiper.
A series of experimental black and white films will be screening tonight at the Firehouse in Joshua Tree. Reporter Adeline J. Wells joins us with a look at the event.
Tonight, the Firehouse in Joshua Tree will host Ecstasies in Monochrome, a program of short films by Marn Lucas and Tyler Hubby. The event will feature a series of 8 black and white films, 4 by each filmmaker, that are experimental and complementary to one another in nature. Lucas is an interdisciplinary artist, photographer, and end-of-life doula based in Portland, Oregon. She explains that much of her work utilizes infrared thermal video as a means of capture.
I use anything from thermal rifle scopes, cameras, binoculars. It's a heat-sensitive technology that's very eerie and shows the subtle actual heat energy of bodies and landscape in real time. So this technology is really, for me, highlights this idea that Carl Sagan talks about, that we were made out of star stuff. And I love this idea of thinking that we were made out of light energy and that we are actually light bodies. So this type of cinema kind of explores that.
Hubby is a filmmaker and photographer based in Los Angeles. He has been making experimental films for several decades, and his 2016 feature film, Tony Conrad, Completely in the Present, explores the life of the late multidisciplinary creative. Hubby has titled his collection of 4 films The City Quartet, and describes that each has its own musical component.
Each one of them is a reflection on the built environment, and each one is done with a different musician or musical entity. I reached out to different contemporary musicians in different capacities to provide scores. Each one of these pieces has a different type of musical energy.
Lucas and Hubby met while both were showing experimental films at the Chicago Underground Film Festival in 1995. They have stayed in touch and collaborated since, including on the short film Phonic Fatigue Syndrome. Ecstasies in Monochrome marks the first occasion their works have been paired together. Hubby's films are the first half of the program, and Lucas's are the second, with her celebrated film The Operation as the program's headline work.
I made that film with Jakob Pander in 1995, and it's the first of its kind. It's an explicit sci-fi patient-surgeon narrative. Not safe for work, but it is absolutely captivating and has won many awards around the world. I don't show it very often, and we're presenting it for the 30th anniversary of this film.
All films shown during the event are in black and white, an imagery choice that Hubby describes as a meditative medium in its own right.
I think that there is a great deal of visual pleasure to be derived from black and white imagery. It's not the way we see in real life, and so it presents a different way of seeing, a different relationship. It gets more formal. I think that black and white has a way of transporting us a little bit just outside of reality.
Ecstasies in Monochrome will be held tonight at 8 p.m. at the Firehouse, located at 65430 Winters Road in Joshua Tree. Tickets are $15 and can be purchased at the door. Reporting for Z107.7 News, this is Adeline J. Wells.
The holidays are upon us, and we want you and your family to enjoy the season in safety. San Bernardino County Fire Battalion Chief Travis Aguirre will be the guest on the Z107.7 Up Close show tomorrow morning. He will talk with host Gary Dagnot about holiday fire safety in the living room and the kitchen, as well as defensible spaces and wildland interface. The Z107.7 Up Close show, it will be live on the air tomorrow at Z107.7 at 10 a.m. and available as a podcast at Z107.7FM.com later in the afternoon. And finally, the Youth Orchestra Joshua Tree presents their annual holiday performance, Sounds of the Season, tomorrow night. The Youth Orchestra invites you to get into the Yuletide mood with uplifting orchestral pieces and festive Christmas carols as performed by local musicians between the ages of 4 and 16 years old. Tickets for the show are $10 for adults and $5 for kids. The event is happening Friday night at 7 p.m. at Sanctuary Hall at the Joshua Tree Retreat Center. That's our local news. Hear local news 7 times a day, 7 days a week at 7, 8, 9, noon, 4, 5, and 6. If you hear about news happening, let us know. Email us at tips@z1077fm.com. Reporting for the Morongo Basin News Leader, the award-winning Z107.7 Local News, I'm News Director Jeff Harmatz.